friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In. This is a cozy chat show about all things spooky with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And today I have brought a topic which is one of my all-time favorite animals and also favorite symbols of Halloween. It's frickin' bats.
Frickin' bats. I would never know about you that you liked bats.
I know. For those who don't know, I do have a wall of bat cutouts that stay up all year round in my apartment, and I do also have a tattoo of bats on my leg.
Which I just learned, last night. Penny and I finally met in person for the first time last night, and I said, "You've got frickin' bats on your leg."
Frickin' bats. I love my bats, and so before we get into some of the spooky side of bats, I have a few bat facts. Bat facts for you. So these are from Bat Conservation International. Bats have been on Earth for more than 50 million years.
Does that make them like dinosaurs, basically?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably not, but they are very old. And there are over 1,400 species of bats.
Wow.
And even though we often associate bats with vampires, only 3 of those drink blood. So the vast majority of bats eat insects and fruit, and they're actually really helpful pollinators.
Yeah. You've told me this once, and I'm excited to hear all about it.
Yes, so bats are actually one of the primary pollinators of agave, which is what makes tequila. So when you have a Taco Tuesday and you're enjoying a margarita, you should thank a bat, because a bat pollinated that for you.
I think that's so odd because Bacardi, which is, rum, uses the bat as their emblem on all their bottles. And so when you told me that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because Bacardi. And then I was like, wait, no, that's rum. You would think more tequila companies would be putting bats on their stuff.
You would. Actually, here in Milwaukee, there is a Mexican restaurant called Blue Bat Kitchen in honor of bats.
In unrelated news, Penny and I will be going to dinner later.
Hey.
Tag Blue Bat Kitchen. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they have like a whole tequila spread, and it is in honor of bats pollinating tequila.
That's so cool. Do they do any donations to bat preservation, I wonder, with those?
I'm not sure. They should, though, because bats,
really cool.
Bats need our support.
Yes, bats and bees.
Bats and bees.
The bats and the bees. That's the talk I'm going to give my children.
Yeah. That's the talk for spooky children, the bats and the bees.
Son, I need to talk to you. It's about the bats and the bees.
Yes. So bats are the only mammal... Bats are the only mammal that is capable of true flight. So there are other, sugar gliders and things, and flying squirrels, they glide. But bats,
they don't flap.
Actually, flap and they fly. And bats can live for a long-ass time. The oldest known wild bat was a Brant's myotis who lived to be 41 years old.
Damn! That's a middle-aged bat.
Yeah.
Do you think he bought a Corvette? Do you think he had a midlife crisis? Well, I guess his midlife would have been his 20s. But,
yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I guess maybe because of domestic animals, I assume animals just don't have that long of lifespans usually, but that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I feel like small animals don't live smaller bats don't have lifespans like that, but these are big guys, they can live a long time.
The beefy boys.
Yes. And even though bats may look like a winged mouse, they're actually more closely genetically related to humans than rodents. So
we could be bats.
We are bats.
I'm sure you've seen the interweb, not tradition. Oh my god. I'm sure you've seen on the internet people calling them sky puppies.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing ever that's ever happened on the internet. Because their faces are so cute.
They really are. I follow a bat account on Instagram that does bat butt posts. And they just see their little booties, and I always love seeing a little bat booty on my feed.
Okay, well, if you were listening to this on YouTube, I will be putting the bat butt account in the description box below, because I think we all need bat butt in our life. That's amazing.
Heck yes. And I'll say most of us probably know that the phrase blind as a bat is a misnomer, because bats are not in fact blind. They can see as well as humans can.
probably better than both of us.
They can. But echolocation allows them to detect food in the dark. And according to the Maryland DNR, bats can use echolocation to determine the size, shape, and texture of objects as small as the width of a human hair.
Holy heck, that's wild.
Yeah, so
that's incredible. Isn't it? It's them and like whales, right? That have that echo.
Yeah.
Like I think they're that I know of anyway. The only two mammals that have that.
Yeah, same. Those are ones I'm aware of. And
that is such a cool superpower. Really, I mean, right? That's literally like the equivalent of being able to, I don't know, like see in the dark. I mean, obviously, like you can see in the dark, but like I mean, really,
like know what's going on in the dark is very cool.
So cool.
And I found out, I actually didn't realize that 70% of bats use echolocation, so they don't all have echolocation, and the rest just use regular old sight and hearing.
Just regular old. That's a
just
fruit.
Their bat eyeballs.
that sure do look like food.
Yes. But that's enough about real life ecology. We're here to talk about spooky stuff.
I mean, I love a good bat lesson, though. I appreciate you bringing all that info to the table.
Thank you.
You had shared with me back before we started the pod the thing about the tequila.
Yes.
And I was very, very excited to learn. I've shared that fact with many folks since you told me. It's very, very cool.
It's good to know. I think it's, we definitely, like, as we all, are looking to save the bees these days and think about the importance of pollination, it's important to remember that other critters take care of that too.
Doing the damn thing. Yeah, I didn't ever think of them as being pollinators, so that's really cool info to have. And like you said, to know that they're so important to our ecosystem and that there's so much conservation for bees right now, which is awesome. I mean, bees, bats, we have
bees and bats. We got it covered.
We got to change the pod name.
The bees and the bats with Penny and Midge.
But yeah, I would love to see more. Maybe we could link something to this episode to give to a bat conservatory. That'd be cool.
That would be very
good.
Bats. Yeah, so obviously bats are very much associated with vampires thanks to Bram Stoker, who wrote about Dracula transforming into a bat. But bats were actually already kind of associated with death and darkness before Bram came around.
I'm sure if you had never seen a bat before and it came flying at you, you'd be like, oh!
Yeah.
They have a presence, for sure.
They do. And I mean, one of the things that I read about and that really makes sense is obviously in the time before electric lights, nighttime was real dark. It was so dark, and like something just kind of flying out of the night at you would be really scary.
That is, yep. I forget that like people didn't just always, walk out at night and be able to see things. Like that would definitely be disturbing.
Yeah, and so bats are often thought of as an omen of death or evil in folklore, and some legends say that a bat in the house is a harbinger of the death of a member of the family, which is pretty dark. I mean, to be fair, I also would not like an unexpected bat to be in my house.
I would.
But I mean, I don't want anything that's alive to be unexpectedly in my house.
I do. I love critters. I really do. Maybe not a snake, but like a bat or a mouse. I think they're I'm just like, oh, you little stinker.
That's fair. Have you seen the video of the Irish family with the bat in their kitchen?
No.
Oh my God. We will definitely link that / post it on Instagram because it's hilarious. It is just like the son of like a family is like trying to film his dad trying to capture a bat in their kitchen, just like, and with just so much Irish enthusiasm.
Oh my gosh.
It is incredible.
I love the Irish.
That's very good.
That's funny. Speaking of, while we're on the topic, if you are new here, or if you're, everyone's new here because we're new here, don't forget to go follow Ghouls Night In pod over on Instagram. We'll have a lot of behind the scenes stuff there, and a lot of, if we have fun things to share that we talk about in the episodes, we'll share them over there. So definitely go give it a follow. And thank you to everybody who's already followed.
It's been so great to see people be excited and interested in the podcast, and we're so excited to make it. So Thank you for tagging along with us.
Woo!
And so The other thing, obviously, that makes bats seem spooky is they live in caves. And caves have traditionally been thought of as, like, gateways to the underworld.
Sure.
So that makes you think of there. And I think about, like, the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? They have, like, that flock of bats that flies out in the opening sequence. And, like, that definitely, like, in my brain is, like, that is what spooky is this unexpected flock of bats flying out of a creepy house.
What? Do you remember, I'm picturing, like, a cartoon from when we were kids, and someone, like, puts their, like, mouth or something over it, and then bats fly out and they get, like, blown up.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly familiar.
If you know what I'm talking about, please leave a comment, because, and they, like, go, like, up on the flight of bats, and then they, like, land on the, like, top of the... Oh, no, you know what it is? It's Emperor's New Groove.
It is Emperor's New Groove. There you go. I'm like, I can picture, like, the mouth, like, getting
expanding.
Big.
It's when he gets his snoot stuck in that little crevice and the bats bring them up after the bridge collapses. That's what I picture, a flock of bats.
Midge, how did you know that I was about to bring up another children's show, animated programming, which is The Magic School Bus? If you recall, there was a bat-focused episode of The Magic School Bus that I was incredibly into, and I'm just gonna say that this is pretty spooky that you brought up Emperor's New Groove, because Eartha Kitt does a voice on that episode of Magic School Bus. Because for those who haven't seen it or don't remember, it's an episode where all of, like, the parents are meeting at, like, a weird old castle thing for some kind of event, and all the kids become convinced that their parents are going to turn into vampires.
I do vaguely remember that.
And Eartha Kitt voices Keisha's grandmother.
Oh my gosh. What a national treasure. If you are not familiar with the fact that Eartha Kitt, who most people I feel like know from her rendition of Santa Baby from Christmas time, is the voice of Yzma in Emperor's New Groove, and has just the most unmistakable voice I have ever heard. She's just a precious little person.
She's a delight, and I very clearly remember, like, the animated representation of echolocation from that episode, where they would show, like the like things like ripples. Yeah,
I do. And now that the more you're talking about that, it's all coming back. But I that's not one of the ones that I vividly remember. I remember the digestive system one probably the most.
Yeah,
that was just the worst.
But yeah, I remember that one, and also the one where there's a crocodile in the bathtub.
Oh my god,
they're all tiny. Yeah, they have to build a bridge. This is not related to bats. This is now a Magic School Bus fan cast. So
this is why you listen to a podcast, though, right? to shoot the shit with your ghoul pals.
Your ghoul friends.
Well, that's delightful. I forgot all about that episode.
Yeah, it was very good. Do you have any real life experiences with the bats?
Not a ton. I mean, my family, my parents live in a really nice, like it's pretty wooded.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, seeing bats and stuff as a kid, like them flying in our yard and stuff, but I've never really had any kind of up-close experiences with them, which is a bummer. I would like to. If you're a bat and you'd like to meet me,
please reach out on Instagram.
There's a submission form in the comments below.
Yeah, I have never had an unexpected bat encounter in the wild, but there is a really great bat area at the Milwaukee Zoo.
Oh, cool.
So they have the rodents, like small rodents house. Sure. And like in the outside they have the daytime section that has like otters and lemurs and tamarins and stuff. And then they have a nighttime section where they have all nocturnal small mammals.
That's amazing.
And they have just like a whole like enclosure that is just all bats flying around, and then they have a little one that's all vampire bats, and they all just like hang upside down on the ceiling, and then they fly down and like sip on their little like blood vials.
Having seen bats, like, are vampire bats, are they small?
These ones were. I'm not sure if they're all small, but these ones were like, I have no sense of measurements, like 3 to 4 inches. Is that what size this is?
I guess I picture, because, you know, like vampire, like I picture them being really grand and like, ooh, bad, but I'm sure they're not.
No, they're just little guys, and they actually, so because I was a big zoo kid when I was growing up, my parents put me in zoo classes every summer, so we would just basically do like a day camp at the zoo on different topics, so I got all sorts of animal facts. And one of the things was when they were talking about vampire bats is just like, they really, like, they don't hurt anything. Like, they're like, a cow will have like a small cut and they come and like lap at it.
So is it, I wonder, is it like actually nourishing to them? Like, is that their food source?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, they just eat blood.
I have an interesting tidbit that relates to the vampire bat and like the Bram Stoker situation. I read a book recently that is called Dracul, and it's written by the great grandnephew of Bram Stoker. Oh. And it includes several bits of his original manuscript, of Dracula, that were not published because when Bram Stoker brought this to his publisher, he said, and I quote, like, "This really happened, and this is a manual on how to not get got by vampires, and the bats that they transform into will like sneak into your life and you won't know." And the publisher at the time was like, "Hey bud, we just got out of Jack the Ripper." Literally, they were like, people are still freaked out about Jack the Ripper and all these things. We cannot cause a frenzy with this, so we can't publish it like this. And so he took out the parts that were true, and they published it like that. So now there's this book where they've published that, as well as some of the basically they've written kind of like a prequel to it, and it's very interesting. Because I mean, I don't know, like, people believed crazy like such crazy stuff. Yeah. But then there's part of me that's like, why would somebody make that up if they didn't, you know? Like, what if someone really saw someone turn into a bat?
I would believe that he met a weird European guy.
In a castle, yeah.
In a castle?
Yeah.
Not, and maybe, like, there were a lot of bats, and he was like, oh shit, these bats are watching me.
And, like, these bats are, like a harbinger of this guy and his presence. Yeah. Good old Bram was fully vested in...
I did not know that.
He said vampires, for sure.
100% real.
100% real.
100% real.
But yeah, that's my fun bat fact of the day that's not even bat related.
I mean, it's kind of bat related. Well, that's kind of the thing, is like, I am always torn because, like, I get the need to destigmatize bats because a lot of people are really scared of them and kind of have this, like, spooky connection, and, like, real bats are chill and helpful, but I also love spooky bats. So, like, I love the symbolism of them as a spooky
How have we not talked about the vine? We have to talk about the vine.
Yes.
Because, I don't even know what there is to say, but the It's Frickin' Bats girl is probably, I think that probably initiated a lot of people having a lot more, like, bat stuff, like, in our generation, because I think that... I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing so much more bat things the last, like, 5-6 years.
This is true. I think people are more into bats. I also follow, like, some bat rescue accounts, and I don't know if you're familiar with Wet Jeff, but
I don't think I want to be familiar with Wet
you
Jeff.
do. He's the best.
Is that like old Greg?
It was like in the height of, like, rough times last summer, and this bat researcher rescued this bat who she found who was all wet, and she named him Jeff, and she posted just, like, so many
so Wet Jeff is a bat.
Wet Jeff is a bat.
I thought Wet Jeff was a person. I said I don't want anything to do with Wet Jeff.
And there's just a picture of him just, like, yelling because he was just like, I'm wet. And he was so sweet, and I loved him. And she like, nursed him back to health with mealworms and things, and then set him back out. But sometimes when I'm sad, I just go back and I look at Wet Jeff, and I relate. Sometimes I feel like I just want to lie there and yell. So
we are all Wet Jeff. I had not ever seen that. I'm learning so much today. I'm learning about Wet Jeff. I'm learning about tequila. They're really the life skills you need to get through your day.
Things you need for everyday life. I think those were all of my bat facts. But I think that like a silhouette of a bat is just always going to be like one of my favorite symbols of
it's
Gothic and Halloween.
Because this bat silhouette, like if you look at a bat, they don't really quite look like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm fascinated by kind of the progression of how we got to this very quintessential bat image. Do you think it has to do with Batman? How do you feel about Batman?
I'm okay. I'm chill with Batman, but I do feel a lot of times like sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, this is a Batman bat. This is not like a
This
bat.
is not a Halloween bat.
This is not a Halloween bat, and I'm like, I don't want anything that has a Batman.
Bruce. Get out of my Halloween, Bruce.
Exactly. Like you can do your thing, but I don't need you.
I feel like Batman kind of. I don't want him to be associated with bats. I'm mad about that whole situation. What about your superpower has anything to do with bats? Do you use echolocation? No?
No.
Are you... Well, I was going to say, are you surviving off blood? But a little bit. Are you eating fruit?
Well, no. That's the weird thing where... Okay, call me out, fake nerd girl. I don't know a lot about, like, comics Batman, but at least in, like, a lot of like movie versions, it's like, oh, he's a bat because bats are scary.
Yeah.
And he wants to be scary. And I'm like, bats aren't scary, my dude. Like
I haven't met a single rich bat either.
No.
I haven't met any millionaire bats that use their powers to fight crime.
No, bats are all very humble creatures living in
like what, Jeff?
In his little single family bat home.
That's going to be the pull away from this episode, a single family bat home.
Oh, that is another thing for people who want to know what they can do to help bats. Obviously, there are bat conservation organizations and stuff, but you can also build a bat house. Yes, which is super fun. Bats need places that are safe, that they can sleep during the day. So if you live somewhere that you have room, you can definitely make a bat house. There are instructions and stuff online, or I know I've seen different places having like workshops where they build bat houses.
That's cool.
But it's nice to provide them a little safe spot. Yeah.
Nocturnal.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. I can't imagine like what it would be like to just not be awake during the day. That's all. That's remembering when I'm like, wow, yeah, they are. They do sleep during the day. Wow. Nature.
It would be very wild. That is one of my travel goals is I would love to go to Austin to see the bats fly.
Oh, like the bridge.
Yeah.
The Ghoulmates actually. If y'all aren't familiar with Mandy and Rudy from the Ghoulmates, they used to be a podcast, and they've actually recently shut down their podcast and are all on YouTube now. But they have a whole vlog of going to see the bats. So it's this bridge where these bats every year tend to nest and have their babies and let their babies kind of stay there until they're ready to
take to the skies.
And yeah, they got footage of that. It's very, very cool. I'll link their video below so you can check that out. Also, they're adorable, so you should subscribe to them. But yeah, I forgot about that. That's a really cool thing that I feel like that would be so majestic to behold, just a bajillion bats flying out. And little baby bats. Little teensy tiny bats.
Just a zillion bats, just like...
That was a good bat sound effect.
Thank you. We'll see if the mic picked that up.
Yeah. We don't need sound editing. Penny's going to be doing all of our sound effects here in studio.
DIY sound effects.
Well, thank you for sharing your bat facts with me. I am realizing I didn't know a whole lot about them, so I'm glad. As much as I love them, I didn't know a lot. So I feel educated, and I hope you all do too.
There you go. The more you know about bats.
Shoot that star across here. But like it's a bat with a little rainbow shooting out of its bat.
Oh, I would love that.
I will be spending way too many hours making that graphic now. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us and listening about all of our batty fun times. As we said before, if you like the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod. Please do rate and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. And if you are looking for me, you can find me at Penny Snark.
You can find me across all platforms at Midge Munster.
And thank you so much, and have a spooky day.
Bye.
All right, we ready to go?
Yeah.
Ghouls Night In. Ghouls Night In, episode, take one,
Episode something.
episode unknown.
Automatically. Oh, no internet. Sure.
Oh, yep, that's a good time for Wi-Fi. It's Desdemona.
Okay.
And the...
While we're recording, go ahead and give it.
Would everyone like to log in? If you're ever in the Milwaukee area, please log into my personal Wi-Fi.
Not my internet automatically taking me to the Vixen website.
Right.
It's like, we know why you're
We
here.
know what you're doing.
It's right there in the name. Oh.
Stop. Sorry, Mike. Is it picking up yours?
What?
Audio drama.